Et maintenant, il a fait le requin pour tout le gratin, musicien de studio, mais jamais vraiment solo. Voici Chris Spedding qui dit tout au Who's Who.
Chris Spedding, if all the albums on which you've been playing guitar were suddenly to disappear, our shelves at home would be rather empty, no? Don't you think so?
Probably so, yeah.
Yeah. From the late 60s until the 80s, you've been the session guitarist in the world, no? On how many albums have you been playing?
Sometimes I discover, when people come to a gig and ask me to sign an autograph, I haven't seen this one before, I don't remember this one. You know?
Yeah. You
Sometimes I forget.
You really don't know?
Sometimes I'll forget, you know, if I just went and did one day overdub, I go away and I forget all about it.
Yeah.
And then somebody asked me to sign the autograph. You know?
You made several albums as a solo artist.
Yep.
The best and the much known is called Chris Spedding.
Yeah.
And the best number is Guitar Jamboree, where you play like every guitar hero in the world. Aren't you too chameleon to be a really great solo artist? Aren't you too gifted?
I don't know. That track was just like a tongue-in-cheek thing, you know, like people think of me as being a guitar hero, like to show off on the guitar, which I don't really like to do.
Yeah.
So I conceived that number to show off in a humorous sort of way, you know, to show off and have fun at the same time. So I enjoyed it, you know. And meanwhile, people that like to see some fancy guitar playing, they get satisfied and I get satisfied. That was the only way I could do it, you know.
Did you suffer from the plug me anywhere approach of guitar?
I always found that the more people I play with, the more I would get just as much out of playing with different people, because you can stagnate if you don't play with different people. And I think every major good artist that I've played with, I've become better myself as a result.
Now we will do a Who's Who interview. Roger Daltrey.
Oh yeah, that was, I was living in America and I was asked to come over to England to do that album. That was fun to do, you know. It was just like a project, somebody calls you up to do the thing, you know. That was kind of like a craftsman type thing. It wasn't like, I see things like with Brian Ferry and with John Cale as being more of an artistic collaboration. But the Roger Daltrey thing was more of a craftsmanship one, you know.
Donovan, you've been playing with Donovan.
Donovan was interesting for me because it's the only time that anybody ever asked me to write string charts. You know, all the orchestra and stuff. And I was sitting there conducting. I never did that before. And that was interesting for that.
Brian Eno?
Brian Eno, okay. We toured with supporting Roxy Music in the show when I was in the Sharks, and that's how we got to know Brian Eno. It was a Country Life album with Roxy Music, and we got to know Brian Eno, and we liked each other. And when he did his solo album, Here Come the Warm Jets, we were hanging out. We were sort of kind of friends, you know.
Brian Ferry?
Well, I've already mentioned Brian. He's one of my favourite artists that I've worked with. It was very clever the way that he was able to bring out of me something that I didn't even know was there. You know.
Johnny Hallyday?
Oh, that was a strange project in where was it? Canada. So where was it?
He was in Canada? No?
Montreal. It was fun, you know, up to a point. It was just another craftsmanship thing, you know.
Elton John.
There again, I was like an orchestra, Paul Buckmaster's orchestra. It was Madman Across the Water. It was just about 2 days in the studio. I don't really remember too much about it.
Paul McCartney?
Oh, Paul McCartney was interesting. The most interesting thing about that was, when you're making movies, it's really boring. You have to have long waits between takes when you all sit in the Winnebago, the band, you know. But what was interesting about Paul McCartney movie was we never, during the breaks, when they were resetting the lighting, we were jamming old rock and roll tunes. So I think the most interesting thing about that movie was the thing that was not on the movie. So all the camera crew and all the technicians were all standing by while they had a free jam, you know, with Dave Edmunds and John Ringo and everything, but we were all jamming away. and I always think that maybe they should have recorded that, filmed that instead of what, you know. That was great.
And the Sex Pistols?
Well, I didn't actually play on the Sex Pistols. See, a lot of people think I played on the Sex Pistols.
No, you've been helping them for the demo tapes, no?
Yeah, I recorded their demos,
Yeah.
I got them the deal,
Yeah.
and I introduced the Sex Pistols to Chris Thomas, the producer.
Yeah.
So that was my involvement with them. I think people always thought the Sex Pistols couldn't play.
Yeah.
And when the records came out, and the records were great, they said, oh, it can't be them, it must be Spedding. You know? But in actual fact, I would not have been interested in the
When
group.
we listen to good guitar, we think it's you playing, you know?
Well,
that's the problem.
Yeah, but I wouldn't have been interested in the group if they couldn't play. I was only interested in them because I thought they could play.
Yeah.
You know, so.
But you've been playing with the vibrators, no?
Oh yeah, I used them as my backup group.
Yeah.
You know, I thought they were good.
Yeah.
They, you know.
What do you think of the evolution of rock and roll? Because you've been involved since the late 60s until the vibrators.
Yeah.
Until now. What do you think the way it evolved?
People in the music industry, before rock and roll, they were looking for the new Frank Sinatra or the new Bing Crosby.
Yeah.
And Elvis Presley comes along and nobody sees it. And like, everybody is looking for the new Elvis Presley and they miss the Beatles. Everybody looks for the new Beatles and they miss the Sex Pistols.
Yeah.
And I can never understand that.
Who was the greatest ever?
The greatest ever?
Yeah.
Well, you see, like, my generation,
Yeah.
I was first turned on by the Elvis Presley when he was like,
When you were 13.
when he was 20 years old, you know, and he looked great.
When you were in Sheffield, when you were 13.
Not the fat Elvis with the white suit.
Yeah.
The Elvis Presley with the, you know, on the Ed Sullivan show.
Early Presley.
Yeah, Hound Dog and Don't Be Cruel and stuff like that. That was my original, my original turn on. So I'm prejudiced, you know. I was very impressed by that because I was 13 years old, you know. I was playing the violin in the school orchestra. I'd never heard rock and roll before, you know, and I freaked out.
From 9 to 13, you've been playing violin.
And I throw the violin away and want a guitar, you know.
Yeah, when you were Presley.
Yeah, yeah.